Woof. It has been a week or 3 weeks, depending on your industry. It's been rough. There's a lot of people who are all of a sudden finding themselves in a position where they are telecommuting, working remotely, location independent, all these things, and they might not really know how to navigate these new waters. It sounds cool at first, like, yeah, work from home, be in my yoga pants all day, maybe watch some Netflix while I do some email. I could be on the beach, right? Sipping a Mai Tai. These are all digital nomad, location independent kind of stereotypes that are not that realistic. As somebody who has worked remotely for the past 9 years, I have some tips and strategies for you on how you can be hyper productive even while you work from home. So I have 9 tips for you. Let's get started. Hey everyone, my name is Brooke Roberts. I'm the founder of Brazenness, an online business incubator, helping people build a location-independent business doing something they love. I've started several businesses, I've run a couple companies, and I have almost always had either a position that was remote myself, or I managed a remote team, or a mishmash of both. And so today I'm going to talk about some strategies I use every single day to help me stay hyper productive even when I work from home, because I'm at home right now. Tip number 1 is to anchor your day. It can be really easy to wake up right away in the morning, get on your phone, check your email, see if you got any messages from your boss or your coworkers or your clients, and start straight into work. But that honestly is a recipe for burnout. So I recommend that you start your day on your own terms. I just try to do something that centers me around my work priorities, my personal priorities, and sets the stage and the mood for the day on my own terms. So a couple things I like to do. I have a journal that I write freehand, whatever's on my mind, lots of brain dumping, all my ideas. And I use this journal, which is called the 5-minute journal. I'll link to it down below. And it's just a quick way to gather my thoughts, do a little gratitude, and focus on what would make today great. And those are 2 things that I do every single morning. I also like to move my body, so to get a little workout in, go for a run, lift some weights, do something like that. So that's how I anchor my day on my terms, and I prioritize things that are important to me, because the rest of the day is probably not going to belong to me. It's going to belong to my clients, different projects I've got going on, and the rest of the world that might need me. So along with anchoring your day in some kind of practice that's for yourself, I highly recommend that you get prepared for the day. Anchor your day as if you are going to leave the house. You don't know if your boss is going to say, let's get on a video call real quick, or if you're going to have to do a conference call with your colleagues in another city. You don't know what's going to happen. So I highly recommend put on at least a pair of jeans, put on a presentable top, do your hair, do whatever you need to do to your face so you feel good and feel professional, and make sure that you're ready for the day as if you were going into an office. I also think it's going to make you feel like you're working instead of just lounging and slouching around. But you know, you do you, but I highly recommend at least get yourself prepared to be seen by other people that you respect, and whatever you need to do to make yourself prepared and look good for that, do that. Tip number 2 is to designate a work area. Now, I haven't always been lucky enough to have a home office like I have now. Typically, I would work from the central area, like the dining room area of my loft, or from the bar in my loft, or have a little corner nook with a desk. Or oftentimes I was just working from coffee shops and co-working spaces around the world when I was digital nomading it. So it doesn't always mean you have to have a separate office or room, but if you can designate a place where this is where I'm going to get some work done. So scoot everything off your dining room table and etch out an area that is your designated space, and try to only do work in that space. If you can close it off, even better, or tell your family and your kids or whoever that, I'm working over here in this area today. This is off limits to you. That can be really helpful to help you focus and get into the right mindset about this is where I do my work. So my third tip is to attack your big 3 priorities. Now, I'm a big fan of setting goals and outlining a strategy on how you're going to achieve those goals and breaking them down into projects and milestones and all this great stuff, and more content on that coming soon. But at the end of the day, you can't do everything in one day. So you need to determine what are your big 3 priorities for any given day. And depending on your industry and the business or organization that you're in, that might be putting out fires right now, especially in our current climate. Or there's projects that are down the line, but you know that you need to be making incremental steps to making that a reality in the future. So what are those big 3 things? If you got those 3 things done today, would you call today a win? And so I always like to write those down, even though I use online project management software. I still go in there, I rearrange some things, and I still say, okay, I might have 6 things on that list, but I say, these are the 3 things that I get done. I will say, I won. Today, I conquered the day, right? So you need to know what those big 3 things are and write them down. Do a sticky note, grab a notebook, and just put them front and center on your desk area, right? Your designated work area, and make sure that you're focusing on those 3 things. The 4th thing to successfully working remotely and also staying productive is to make sure that you are over communicating, especially if you are typically working on a team that's in an office and now you find yourself in a situation where you're not in that office and telecommuting. I highly recommend that you over communicate. Never assume that people understand what you're working on, the progress that you're making, and making sure that, especially with your supervisor or any people that you supervise or collaborate with, that you are communicating what the priorities are, what you're working on that day, what you hope they are working on, and how you're going to maintain communication, sort of setting that standard for each other. Especially if you are an employee and your boss is not used to you working remotely, you need to absolutely over communicate with them and checking in with them and saying, hey, these are my priorities for the day. This is what I'm focused on and what I plan to get done. And check in with them mid-morning, around noon and mid-afternoon and at the end of the day, and let them know this is what happened. And they will tell you, hey, I don't need to all those check-ins. But I think it's really important, if you're new to this game of working remotely, is to over communicate, and then you'll figure out a groove as you get used to this environment. I cannot stress this enough. This is where things can go off the rail because you thought something and they thought something else, and all of a sudden it's just hitting the fan and you're like, wow, maybe if I just communicated overly about what was going on, none of that would have happened. Number 5 is to never multitask. Now, this is one of those things that is a lot easier to do at home, I think, than doing it in the traditional workplace, because not only do you have the opportunity to multitask with your actual work, but then you have the opportunity to multitask with do some laundry real quick, or I'll go unload the dishwasher. Yeah, it sounds nice that yes, you might be able to do some of these things while you are getting your work done, but I really encourage you not to get distracted by your home chores and your home obligations while you're supposed to be clocking it in with your work, because they can tend to tack on other things. So you might think, oh, I'm just going to unload the dishwasher, but that turns into wiping down all the cabinets, and then now you're wiping down everything because of coronavirus. Or you're going to do 1 load of laundry that turns into 3. So there's a lot of different things where it continually pull you away from your work. And beyond that, you might also be thinking, oh, I don't want to do laundry and unload the dishwasher. I just want to have Netflix on. Unfortunately, I think that is a slippery slope. You can try it, but if you find yourself like getting pulled back into the story and not being as efficient as you'd like to be on your work, and you're not getting your big 3 done every day, then I would challenge you to say, no, let's put on some deep focus Spotify music and really get down to brass tacks of what's important for that day. One of the techniques I like to use, and I do actually talk about how to have your most productive week ever in this video right here. So go check that out after you finish this one. But one of the techniques I talk about is using the Pomodoro technique. Now, this is an amazing tool. It doesn't require anything other than a timer, which is amazing. You don't have to buy anything to do this. It's just free. You can just do it. And because I get distracted, I like to follow those squirrels all over the place and just get really distracted, shiny object syndrome to the core over here. So one of the ways I combat that is by utilizing the Pomodoro technique. And so instead of sort of saying, okay, I have my big 3 and just going for it, I will set a timer for 25 minutes and I zero in on that specific task. Then when the 25 minutes is up, I get up, I move around, do a little stretching, maybe a few jumping jacks, go get a glass of water. The one thing I don't do in that 5-minute break is get on my phone, scroll Instagram. I try to get up from my desk, walk around, move my body, and try to, get my eyes off of a screen. And then after that 25 minutes and that 5-minute break, jump back in, another Pomodoro. And I do that for a couple of 4 hours-ish, and then I take a longer break, maybe half an hour, maybe it's time for lunch or something, and then I might take the dog for a walk or just walk around the block, or, that's when I might jump on Instagram, do a little scrolling. It is a really great tool for me to stay focused and get work done, because sometimes when you look at a task and you're like, wow, doing those slides, for instance, you're doing a presentation soon, you got to put together a presentation, you're like, that's going to take like 4 hours, and then it can feel like this daunting task, but instead, if you break it down and just like, oh, I could do this for 25 minutes, then it seems a lot easier. So I highly recommend that you break down these tasks into these smaller increments of time. It makes it a lot easier to get them done. Number 6, related to my last tip, is then to take breaks. So even though you're getting super focused and you're not multitasking, you're using the Pomodoro technique, it is really important to take breaks, because when you work from home and you work, and especially if you're working for yourself a lot of times, it can be really easy to just sit in front of this computer all day and never move. It's really hard to get your step count up because you're not commuting anywhere. It can be really easy to live a very sedentary life as a result. And so as somebody who has struggled with this for the last 9 years, I highly recommend take breaks, move your body, get up, get out of your physical space where you're doing the work, and breathe some fresh air and do those things. I promise you it'll make you more efficient when you come back. Because I know a lot of times it's like, oh, I'll just do one more thing. And I fall into this trap all the time. Just one more thing. Just one more thing. Whew. Okay, go take a walk and then come back to it. Sometimes it'll also prevent that mid-afternoon slump as well. If you get up, move your body, get some fresh air, you'll kind of come back a little bit recharged. Number 7 is to activate your body. So as I mentioned before, I think whether you do it in the morning or you do it in the evening, it doesn't really matter. But as somebody who works from home, who's not commuting, not moving their body too much throughout the day, it is really important to get moving, to move your body in some capacity. I like to do it first thing in the morning because then I know it's done and out of the way, because the rest of I'll keep procrastinating it the rest of the day. But you do you. I mean, if you're an evening workout person, that's fine, but make sure you make it a priority. I have a lot of friends who like to bookend their day with a workout. They just do their anchoring practice in the morning, whether they journal or meditate or do something like that. And then they start their day and then they anchor their day with a good workout. Work out all the kinks mentally, physically. It feels really good to do that. Whatever you like, do a little yoga, go for a longer walk, go for a run, lift some weights. Find a modality that speaks to you, that you enjoy, but definitely move your body. Number 8 is to end the day strong. So just like every single morning, I check into my Asana and I figure out what are my main big 3 priorities for the day. I then recheck in and was like, what did I actually do? What did I accomplish? Maybe the things weren't on the list. Where can I improve for tomorrow? And then set my priorities for the next day, or I move things around as needed, look at my calendar, any meetings coming up. Then when I sit down at my desk the next morning, I have a good idea of what my day is going to look like already. I don't have to sit there and go, well, what am I going to do today? I already know. My Asana has told me, my priorities, my meetings have told me how I need to structure my day moving forward. End the day as you began it with sort of your priorities, your focus, anchoring it in your priorities for your work and your life. And my last tip, number 9, is to take some deep breaths. If you're watching this video and we're still in the midst of this coronavirus, COVID-19 situation, a lot of things are still really unknown. And we don't really know what's going to happen in the future. We hope that it's going to end in a couple months, but we don't know anything. The uncertainty, a little bit of fear is resonating across all industries, all sectors, all countries, all people, all socioeconomic statuses. It really is not leaving anyone untouched. And so my advice here is to take a deep breath, find some stillness, don't consume too much of the news, stay aware, but don't just sit there reading article after article or watching video after video, because that absolutely will not help you be productive, and it will not help your mindset and your mental capacity to get your work done and attack your day and your life in a way that you feel empowered. So I highly recommend you kind of take a step back from consuming too much, and that you just take some time to breathe and be still. So whether you do some meditation, whether you just listen to some music and get off your screens for a little bit, take some time for yourself. And if that means just 15 minutes before bed, you lay in bed, listen to a soothing podcast or an album you really love, or just birds chirping sound YouTube video or something like that. Whatever you can find to help you get a little bit of stillness, a little bit of centeredness, I highly recommend. That'll help you hopefully drift off into some great sleep. Bonus tip here is to make sure you're sleeping. I highly recommend that stillness practice before you go to bed, because it will honestly help you wind down your brain and your mind. But in addition to that, if it's a school night, if it's a work night, you need to make sure that you are getting enough sleep. So just because you work from home doesn't mean you should be like, oh, well, I'll stay up all night working on that presentation. No, honey, because somebody's going to be wanting to talk to you at like 8 a.m. the next day or 9 a.m. And so you can't be rolling out of bed being like, oh, wow. Get some stillness and make sure you're getting enough sleep. All right, you guys, those are my tips on how to work from home or work remotely and still be hyper productive. If you are finding yourself in the situation where you're working from home unexpectedly and this is new for you, definitely go check out my other video all about how to have your most productive week ever. I have a few other tips in there on strategies I use every single day. And I want to invite you to 2 things I've got going on this week. So on Tuesday, I'm hosting a panel discussion with other small business owners on how this pandemic coronavirus thing is impacting their businesses. That's going to be a live panel discussion. Just go to brazenest.com/talk, the word talk, and you will be able to sign up for that live panel discussion there. And then the second thing I'm hosting is on Thursday. I'm going to be hosting my Work From Anywhere Masterclass on how you can build a location-independent business doing something you love. And I feel like now more than ever, we all need to be diversifying our income streams and our ability to make a living. Moving to the online space could be an opportunity for you. So I hope you'll join me there. Go to brazenest.com/masterclass to sign up, and I will see you on Thursday. Until then, you guys, take care of yourselves. Be good, kick ass at work, and wash your hands. And remember that every day you postpone a dream, you weaken it a little. So get out there and make some magic happen. Cheers. Barnaby. Rude. Stop it. Does anybody have this problem with their dog or their children? This is why I'm never having kids.